Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Welcome to a special edition of House Jack City Backstage Sports Edition with your host, Rob Eggers. This is Roy Herman, and we have a lot going on today, don't we, Roy?
My mind is blown right now. That's all I can say. Just blown.
Well, you know, I want to bring our intro music down because we have a special guest, probably the biggest guest ever on our show, and we're very excited to have him. So without further ado, let's bring him in. And this right here, you can't bring this man in without a little bit of heavy metal. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the stage. Two-time World Series champion, Scott Spiezio. Welcome to the show, Scott. How we doing?
I'm doing great, man. Thanks.
Man, give you a good introduction, man. Bring you down there. Welcome to the show, Scott. How you doing today?
I'm doing awesome. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
I got my dog licking my leg here, and we're ready to rock.
He's ready to go too. What kind of dog you got? So, because we have a lot of animal lovers that watch the show too.
I've got two. One is supposedly a Doberman and pit bull mix, and one is a coonhound and black lab mix. But the pit bull mix, she's got to be next to me all the time. So it's kind of fun, and they like to bark. So hopefully we won't get any thunder, because the black lab mix, he is a baby when it comes to thunder.
Oh yeah,
he'll be jumping in my lap.
I had some dogs that obviously are passed now. They hated my little dogs. It was it was like a Bichon Brachet or whatever you call them. I can't say the word. It's a French dog, and then one was a mutt. Every time lightning hit, you cannot stop them. You can't stop them. So that's okay. And speaking of weather, Roy and Scott, you guys are obviously in Illinois. You got some weather coming in today. We're taping this show on Tuesday, the 21st of May. And I'm down here in good old hot Florida. It's 106 degrees real field today. I'm glad I'm inside. Wow. I know you guys have some crazy weather too coming through with some high temperatures and possible severe thunderstorms. So I'm going to be praying for both you guys that it just passes on over. So when are those expected in there, guys? Those thunderstorms.
I think 8 o'clock, 7, 8. Is that what it is?
Yeah, something like this afternoon or later on tonight, because it's 90, which is like unprecedented, Scott, out here right now in May. It shouldn't be 90. And so, the atmosphere by that time is going to cool. So because you're going to get here I go doing some Tom Skilling with it, but that's where it's all going to go down. So I'm in the basement now. I might just be down here all day. I don't know. We'll see.
I've got lessons scheduled. So,
all right.
We gotta get them here and get our work in, man.
Let's get it in. Right.
That's right. Right before we start the show, we are partnered with W, everybody. So if you already know, get your W on. You can save 10% right here. Oh, wrong one. Right. So make sure to head to w.gg to get your energy. So with that said, Roy, let's start it off, man. Energy. We got a lot of stuff to talk about with Scott today. We have about an hour and 45-minute show. Am I correct? I think we have some time. We're not going to keep Scott longer than we need to. We do appreciate you once again, Scott, coming on the show. Man, we have a lot to talk about. We have a lot of videos to share. You have some cool stories to share with us. So we got a lot to talk about the World Series, the 2 World Series championships you got under your belt. We're going to be talking a little bit about mental health and how you became a born-again Christian. And you got some stories with Jose Canseco. So everyone stick around for that. So it's going to be a fun show. So with that said, Roy, go ahead and take it off, man.
Well, first of all, before I kick it off, Scott, I want the world to know, and I want to give you your proper introduction because, well, first of all, I'm a baseball, as I call it, junkie. Been following the game since 1986. And me and my dad and mom, we've all bonded over sports, but baseball has always just been, it's like, okay, God and church, right? And then baseball, really, it's really just it goes hand in hand. But I want to tell a quick story. And that's because in 1998, I met you and I was just a 22-year-old kid, which this hat you signed for me. And just to show when you're nice to somebody, you never know what a lasting impression that's going to leave on somebody. And because you did this, I have been the biggest fan and followed your whole career, because of that. Right. And sometimes they say don't meet your heroes. Well, I want to debunk that myth, because you just were completely a hero to me. I even got a baseball card right here I want to show up here. And I'm even wearing the A's hat, because I know you had in our pre-show meeting, you wore the Angels. You won. That's where you won your first World Series. But I had to start it out with the A's, and green is for National Mental Health Awareness. So you started out, you were born in Joliet, right? Take us to, because then you live in Joliet and then move to Morris, or how did you get to Morris?
Well, thank you guys both for having me on the show, and Roy, thank you for that intro. I really appreciate it. I just say I'm a normal person, that was lucky enough to play a game for a living, and I treat everybody with respect. I'm sure there was times where, when I was drinking, I wasn't the nicest guy in the world, but I always tried to be nice, and I just enjoy people. So it's a pleasure. Thank you so much for that intro. As far as me getting to where I'm at now, my dad and mom are from Joliet, Illinois. They both went to Joliet Township. I think actually all four of my grandparents went to Joliet Township, if I remember right. And my dad, he didn't grow up too far. He used to walk to school. He was kind of where the I-80 bridge over the Des Plaines River is. And I think they had to move because of that being built. So he used to walk to school. He played at Ingalls Park, which I later played at Ingalls Park, and a lot of major leaguers through there. The Joliet community in the surrounding areas have a lot of major leaguers and great ball players that have come out of the area. But my dad, after he signed out of Lewis College, playing for one of the greatest coaches of all time, Gordy Gillespie, he signed before the draft. I think the draft started in '64. Before that, people just signed as free agents, and there was kind of a bidding war for him. He went with the Cardinals in '63. By June of '64, he was in the big leagues, and they ended up being in the World Series. He didn't get any at bats, but he was on the active roster in '64. Of course, was on 3 World Series teams through that time. 2 of them they won in '64, '67. He went on to the Padres. He had the first hit, first home run, first RBI, and first run scored in Padre history. Played through about halfway of '72. But before he went to his last season in '72 with the Padres, he bought a furniture store in Morris, Illinois, with one of his teammates, Kenny Nelson, who just unfortunately passed away. But his brother, Gary Spiezio, and Kenny Nelson bought this furniture store together. And they were kind of running it while my dad was in San Diego. Around June or somewhere, Bill Melton went down with the White Sox at third base. They traded for my dad because they were still in the hunt, for the American League pennant. My dad came in. He used to, and he had an apartment in Morris, Illinois, and I wasn't born yet. I was almost there, and so he started in Morris, Illinois, at an apartment, and he'd go to work at 7 a.m, drive up at 5, get dressed, play the game, go back. And he did really well when he got there. They actually were neck and neck with the Oakland A's in 1972. My dad hit a big home run against Raleigh Fingers out in Oakland that put him up. And then they just, Oakland was a tough team. They fell back. By the time late September rolled around, I was going to be born September 21st, and Chuck Tanner, the manager, told my dad, "Hey, you have never seen one of your kids be born. Why don't you stay home from this road trip? We're mathematically out of it." And so my dad actually got to see me be born. And then after that season, my dad was asking for like $20,000 or $21,000 and they wouldn't do it. And so he said, forget it. He's only 30 years old when he played his last game. He got 9 years in the big leagues. He could have definitely played longer. When my dad first came in, there was 16 teams, and then they added 4, so there was 20 teams, not like 30 teams as of now. I mean, if he was playing with 30 teams, he would have probably been a starter every day with somebody.
Right.
And then so he just stayed in Morris, and that's where I've grown up in Morris, Illinois.
I got to show this. Look at that.
Oh, Louis Flyer, yeah, Cordy, yeah. My dad says he's still the greatest coach that he's ever played under.
Ever. Yeah, he's like the George Hallis, or you just go on down the list, the Red Auerbach. His daughter, not knowing in 7th grade, was my teacher at St. Scholastica. I had no idea Jackie Horvat was his daughter. And
Holy
so
cow.
years later, I went to JCA. Sorry, I know you're a Morris guy, but
that's okay.
But no, that's amazing. I didn't know your dad played for them. So thank you for sharing that story.
Absolutely.
Let's kind of kick it off to you now. So you're in Morris. You come up the ranks after your dad, and that still blows my mind because the Belton one, Bill Melton, right? He leads the American League in home runs. Dick Allen's over there, and your dad had a chance to play there. But now, let's get into you, right? So in high school, you had a lot of accolades there, and then you go to Illinois. You play at Champaign-Urbana. Big Ten, you won a couple awards, right? Big Ten awards in 92, 93. And then you go and you play for the junior national team against Cuba, a bronze medal. Is that correct?
Yeah. So I grew up in Morris. I went to a small grade school, Nettle Creek Grade School. We had a whopping 10 kids in our class. We were one of the big classes. The class in front had 4. The class behind had 3. And then I went to Morris. And I was kind of scared because you go from a little school where everybody kindergarten through 8th grade to a school which for me was big, 800 kids. But it went well. I ended up getting brought up as a freshman to play. My dad had prepared me the whole way. We had stations in the basement, and I'd hit before he got home, and then we had 2 mounds in the backyard, and he would pitch to me every day. And then, on the weekends, we'd go take ground balls at every position and throw from the outfield. And I turned double plays with my mom. So my dad had me ready to go. And so, through high school, my sophomore year, I had a really good year. My junior year, I was MVP of the Little 7 conference, hit 527 with 10 home runs and 65 RBIs. And senior year, I had really close to that. I think I had 9 home runs, 470 or something. They didn't pitch to me as much my senior year. And then I ended up, I had trips to LSU and some other schools. And at the time, Augie Garrido was at Illinois, and he came from Cal State Fullerton, and their program was pretty dang good. And I thought, man, I could still hit with my dad. It's only an hour and a half away. And so I ended up picking Illinois over all the other ones. LSU went on to win 2 national championships in the 2 of the 3 years that I would have been there. But that's all right.
Okay. You got 2 World Series.
That's right.
You're good.
So you never know what would have happened if I went there. But I went to Illinois. Augie ended up leaving. We brought in Itchy Jones from Southern Illinois, who had a national championship from there and had a really good program. And then Dan Hartlib was his assistant, who is still the head coach at University of Illinois. They just won the Big Ten championship outright, which was pretty cool to see. And so, yeah, I did well. I did well there too. I think I was. I went down there and they said that I was All-American. So I guess I was. I don't even remember. I don't even remember the Big Ten. Teams. I was just so focused on making sure I was getting better and going to be drafted. And we had some transition years that was pretty tough. But I woke up today to like 56 missed texts from my Illinois U of I teammates. We we still keep in touch all the time, and
Awesome.
still are poking fun at each other. And it was a great time that I had down there. And then I got drafted in the 6th round, and went on to Oakland.
And it's good to talk about the major leagues and the World Series. I know everybody wants to talk about that stuff, but it's going back to your roots, right? And talking about the guys from Illinois that you still keep in contact with, and Morris, Illinois, and all those local stories. That's what I love to hear as a fan, and just as an outsider looking in, the people nationally, they don't know all that stuff, right?
Oh yeah,
so that's cool to keep that in
definitely. One of the guys. I was talking about my grade school. So when I was about 4, my dad moved into a subdivision by the Morris Country Club, and I was about 5 or 6 houses down from this kid named Dave Wolen, who's still my best friend to this day. So we went to preschool together. We went to school together, grade school together, high school together. He went to Mankato State, which is now Minnesota State. And, I went to Illinois, and I started telling my coaches, man, this kid, he's better than what we got, at second base or wherever you need him. And he ended up he transferred and walked on and made the team. And he was all Big Ten 2 years, his junior and senior year. And so he's one of the guys that, I still talk to all the time. And I just went up and visited him when Illinois was playing Minnesota. He lives in Minnesota now. But it's relationships like that. Going back to your roots, we're going to talk about mental health and my struggles later. But yeah, me going back to my roots is that, and being surrounded by people that knew me before the big leagues and all that stuff, that really knew me better than I knew myself when I was struggling. So yeah, it's pretty nice to be back in my hometown.
And you're not the only one out of Morris that made it to the major leagues. Kelly Dransfeld made it. I went to White Sox spring training in 2004, Tucson, when they were down there, and he was with the White Sox at that time. And so he's walking around, and a lot of people were calling out to him for autographs, and he was focused, locked in. So I said, "Hey, Kelly, Morris, Illinois." He stopped in his tracks. He turned around and he came and he signed. And so that's 2 guys out of Morris. I mean, how many towns could say that, right?
There's 3. There's another kid named Billy Petrick.
Oh, how could I forget Billy Petrick?
So in a short amount of time, we had 3 guys. And there's been other ones that have been drafted and did okay. But 3 major leaguers, and it's funny because Billy was with the Cubs. Kelly ended up going to the White Sox, and then I was with the Cardinals. So we had 3 of the local teams.
That's awesome. No, that's pretty cool, though.
Yeah, we had 3 of the local teams. Kelly and I used to work out in the off season together. He was a freshman when I was a senior. He went to Michigan, though. So we gotta give each other crap about that all the time. But
did you guys give each other crap all the time? Did you guys you guys are playing each other? You guys give a phone call, say, "Hey, I'm going to knock a few off of your pitcher today," or whatever.
Yeah,
I'm going to stare you down in the dugout too when I'm running the bases.
It's more about like Kelly's known for his hair. It's always perfect. Mm-hmm. When he was with the Rangers, Pudge Rodriguez and Rafael Palmeiro used to call him Mannequin Head because his hair is perfect. And this kid still looks like he can play. He's like 48 now. His hair is still full and perfect. I'm like, man, I'm struggling. My hair keeps moving back, and his hair is always perfect. Yeah, right. This kid, he looks like he's right out of high school. He's still in good shape, Awesome. But I just saw him the other day out celebrating his father-in-law's 80th birthday, and Billy was doing lessons at my place for a while, and then he had to move down to Mississippi because his daughter, his mom moved, and so he followed so that he could be by her. But it's pretty neat for a small town to have that kind of talent.
And he pitched for the Joliet Slammers too for a little bit too. So
He did. He did.
Shout out to
He got brought up pretty dang quick. He was just an incredible athlete, a big guy. I think he had a full ride for football to either Washington or Washington State. Ended up getting drafted, and I can't remember if it was the third round or fourth round. Got a big bonus and ended up getting hurt. And then after that, he just never really bounced back. And then he went to the Slammers and did well for them. I was actually one of the coaches during the COVID league up at Slammers Park. It was me, Glenn Allen Hill, Corky Miller, and Billy. So it's fun. It was fun hanging around him for a summer.
That was a bad time, the COVID thing, and I wish I could have got out there. I was going through some hard times myself, but that had to be a magical season just to take something so tragic on a national level. And you guys went out there and you played ball and you had a league when nobody else was playing.
Right.
And that was really cool. Give a shout out to Nick Samaka and the Slammers, who's now they just sold the team to Mike Veck and Bill Murray. But I mean, to do something like that, and for you, did you get the itch though? Like, is that still in the back of your mind? Like, hey, maybe I could do this, or you want to get into ball, like coaching or doing anything like that, or not really?
Yeah. Another shout out to Heather Mills. She's still with them.
Mills,
she did an incredible job and continues to do a great job with the Slammers.
The first lady of baseball, right?
Huh?
She's the first lady of baseball,
yes,
right?
Yes, she is. Yes, she knows what she's doing, and she's become a real dear friend as well. That was an amazing time. We got to play. I got to manage some guys that were in affiliated ball. We had some guys from AAA. We had some up and comers with the Mets and Houston. My first pick was a guy named Dietrich Enns. Because I didn't know that much about pitching, and I knew he had made it to the major leagues with the Twins. And I said, I'm going to pick this guy. He's going to be my number one, and he's going to be my pitching coach. And I'll tell you what, that guy, he dominated. He handled the pitching staff well, helped me learn more about how to handle a pitching staff. And then he got picked up after, not that long. He was throwing so well that Tampa Bay picked him up. He made it to their taxi squad, during the COVID season. And then the next year he got brought up. And then the following year he went to Japan, and he's been there for 2 or 3 years with Japan and doing well. He just had a baby, just turned 1. So it's kind of fun to follow some of these guys. Malaki, I had Malaki, his dad. I played against his dad. His dad was a pitcher, Bob Malaki, and his son. Just I think he got called up to AAA, or he's on the verge too. So it's cool to watch some of these guys creep through the league. And as far as give me the itch, that's when I started doing lessons. After that, I had my facility that I built for myself to train, after the 2002 season. And then I'm like, shoot, I might as well, open it up to do some lessons and try to help out the community and share my knowledge, what my dad learned, what I learned over the years. And it just kind of took off, word of mouth. I started out with like 4 kids a week, and then all of a sudden it was boom, and I never advertised. People usually say, I heard from this person, and sometimes I throw to every kid too. So sometimes I'm pretty sore afterwards. I know after the day I'm going to be sore.
Definitely seen you pitching too, by the way. I saw some video of you pitching. With the Cardinals.
Yeah.
They're pretty good.
I did. I got a 0 ERA. I'm the greatest in the history of the game. I tell my kids that all the time.
I love it. Yes.
So you're asking also about managing. I've got a 9-year-old. It would be fun. It would be fun to go out and do it. But right now, my 9-year-old needs me. After a while, maybe I'll get back into the game in some capacity. I think that would be a lot of fun. This coming week, I'm actually going to Medford, Oregon, to be a temporary manager for a collegiate summer league team out there. What I was told is the Oregon State coach and his coaching staff are the ones that are going to be coaching it, and they're going to be busy next week. So I'm going to go in for a week and try to get those guys ready, and then play 3 games against like this traveling semi-pro team to try to get them ready for the regular season. So, and it's funny because when I got drafted by the A's, they first told me, here's some McDonald's gift certificates, and I said, forget it, I'll go back to college. So I went to the Cape, and then I tore it up in the Cape. They ended up giving me what I wanted, and they sent me to Medford, Oregon. So my host family that I stayed with is still there. Unfortunately, the father passed away, but the mom and the kids are still there. So while I'm there, I'm going to visit with them and look at the beautiful scenery while I'm there. And so it'll be a fun week.
That's awesome. Yeah, I've always wanted to go out west, since talking about out west. I've been to California a couple of times. I've never been to like Oregon or Washington or Montana. Like the furthest west I went, like Southwest, where you had a lot of like good scenery, is Utah. I love Utah. Salt Lake City's beautiful. Like if you like hiking, if you just like nature, I'm a nature guy. I like to fish. I like to hike. I like to, just be outside. I'm an outside kind of guy. And so Oregon, I hear, is a beautiful, beautiful state to be.
Yeah, it's all beautiful. Washington's beautiful. Northern California, yeah. Even down further, there's some unbelievable state parks or national parks in California that are incredible. I've been to Utah, and I've played in Salt Lake. I've never really like went and did the tour. Like I've driven through Wyoming. One day I want to like hit all of them, Yellowstone, and just go through all the states and do it. I never understood RVs, but now I could kind of understand them as I get older. Make that trip.
I'm in my 40s, and I was just telling Roy this past week, and I would trade in everything I have right now just to go on the road. Just bring my podcasting stuff with me, my music, my PS5, a couple clothes, and the rest is history. And just start getting all 50 states. I've seen 28 so far. I know you probably seen all 50.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you, like, when you guys are on the road back in the day, when you're with all the major league teams, what was one of your, like, when you look on the schedule, you guys knew you were flying out, what was your guys' favorite spot to go to? Or even just yours per se?
Yeah. I think I've hit every state except for maybe Alaska and Maine. I don't think I hit Maine, but everywhere else I've got to. As far as favorite spot, I always liked Chicago, coming back to Chicago, even though I'm from here. I just thought, the downtown area was really nice. Of course, I always like going to Southern California, New York. Boston has its charm. Pittsburgh and Baltimore, probably 2 of my favorite stadiums. So I always enjoyed going there. I used to love going to Seattle in the music scene because I was into grunge and stuff, and Alice in Chains and Soundgarden. So I was always going to like Sub Pop music store and trying to find like these hidden recordings and stuff. And pretty much everywhere. I liked going everywhere. Maybe not Detroit sometimes. When they're at the old Tiger Stadium, but the history, was pretty amazing to think, geez, Ty Cobb played here, and he probably, took a leak in this urinal right here. And, that looks 150 years old. It was pretty neat. Pretty much everywhere you went, there was something that grabbed your attention.
Right. And that's how I was, when I drove with Google, and you talked about going with or going through Wyoming. That's where a lot of people in the United States hasn't traveled like me and Scott per se have. When you're driving through Wyoming and you're heading west, and you start looking at the horizon because you're elevating. You see those mountains in the distance. I think that is so cool on how everything just changes. And I'm telling you, when you're in an RV, and I would love to do this, and Scott, I highly recommend it. The RV way is the way to go. I've talked to many people doing it. You just open up more mentally. And I think with all of us, we'll talk about later about God and everything. God shows you more, I feel. And it just makes you appreciate life a lot more. It makes you appreciate nature. It makes you appreciate the air you're breathing. Do you notice when you're on the road how the air quality is a lot different to state to state? And a lot of people, don't think of it that way. Like they call it the Mile High Club. Like a lot of people, what's the 5,280 stand for on the Denver Nuggets? I don't know if you guys watched the Denver Nuggets NBA game the other day, but they had the 5,280. Everyone knows 5,280 feet is 1 mile. That's mile high. So I just want to give everyone that. It's like, oh, that's what that was. But yeah, the air quality out in the West is a lot different than here in the Midwest for you guys. And down here in Florida, I know you played down here too, Scott. Down here in Florida during the summer, you can't breathe to save your life. My goodness, the air quality down here just by being at sea level and just the humidity and stuff is crazy.
There's definitely some hidden gems. I remember I played in Modesto, California, and my host family took me to Yosemite. And when we came around the bend and followed the river up, I see Half Dome and El Capitan and I think it's Bridal Falls, and I just was like, holy cow, where did this come from? Same when I was with excuse me, Edmonton. What was our team? Edmonton Trappers in Edmonton, Canada. We were going to play Calgary, and then it was the All-Star break, and unfortunately, it's the first time I missed the All-Star team in a long time. But it gave me a chance to go see Banff and Jasper. And when you roll up and you see the mountains and then just the crystal, blue lakes, and it's amazing. A lot different than being in some of the cities in the Cal League where the humidity and the smog was so bad that we're sitting there playing and we're looking at the news and it's saying don't go outside, the air quality's too bad, and we're playing baseball and we can't see it. If the ball's in the air too high, we can't see it. But yeah, it's and the same with I remember in Double-A going and playing in Orlando and just suffocating down there. We talked about the USA team. We went down there to like Bucky Dent's School of Baseball. We had the Olympic Festival. So I was 17. We had some great guys on that team. Sean Green was on that team. Brooks Kiesnick, Jay Powell, some really, really good players. And we were at the Olympic Festival. My North team won it. Shaq was at the Olympic Festival with the South basketball team. Some really good basketball players, all around athletes. I ended up making the junior team. We went down and played there, played around Iowa. We went to the Field of Dreams and stuff. And then we went down there and trained before we played in the Junior World Championships in Cuba, which was an eye-opening experience. But yeah, playing in Florida, getting that afternoon like thunderstorm for 20 minutes and then boom, getting right back on the field. And then, man, we played in Cuba, and you want to talk about hot and muggy. Man, we all lost about 15 pounds that we couldn't, we really didn't need to lose.
Tropics.
Yeah, it was tough. We ended up getting third down there. We should have. I think they had like 28, 30-year-olds playing against us. We're 17 and 18, and I think they were cheating a little bit.
So you guys actually got to go to Cuba was going to be one of my questions because you probably had to have a special, like a passport or whatever. And was Fidel Castro there? Did you see him at all?
We didn't. I'm trying to remember if we saw him. I don't remember seeing him, but it was an eye-opening experience. I remember, going every 10 years to St. Louis, even sooner than every 10 years. Any year that ended in a 4, a 7, or an 8 for my dad's 3 championship teams, they'd have, reunions in St. Louis. And, And those guys would always say, hey, if you want to make it to the major leagues and stay, you got to outwork the people in Cuba, the kids in Cuba, Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic, Venezuela, so on and so forth. And when I went to Cuba and saw the poverty there, we got there. We had to have passports. We got off. They had guys with machine guns escorting us. Everywhere we went, there was a guy with a machine gun driving with us. It wasn't the best conditions. We had all these kids that basically had gloves made out of cardboard and bats made out of branches of trees. And, I remember one of them playing baseball with an old doll's head as a baseball. And so, I remember, we went to the U.S. consulate. There was no food that we liked. So we went to the Canadian, store, and all of us bought like bread and peanut butter, and we had to buy a toilet seat because there was no toilet seat. So
wow.
We had to take turns using the toilet seat, and you had to dump water into the toilet to flush it, and there'd be frogs in the shower with us, and it was crazy. But I remember when we got back, we all kissed the ground in Miami airport. Yeah, we were like, thank God. But it showed me, I'm like, man, every day, I always tell kids this, every year I'd write my goals down. And then before I went to bed, I'd pray. I always prayed, God, let me make it 10 years in the big leagues, and, keep us healthy and stuff. And I always say I should have prayed for 20 years because I got 12. But if I would have prayed for 20, maybe I would have got 20. But I look and see, what did I do today that got me closer to those goals? And if I didn't do anything, then I worked doubly hard the next day. So when I saw those guys, my whole thought process was, I'm not competing against the guys from my hometown or my state or even the United States. I'm competing against those guys every day. And they're hungry. Like, their only way to get out of poverty is to get off that island, and baseball is the avenue. So I had to figure out ways to practice so that I could get better and separate myself from everybody else so that I could compete against those guys. And that was my mindset from there on out.
So now, you get to the big leagues, right? Oakland, and you're coming off, they had the dynasty, of course, the Tony La Russa years, the Bash brothers, Sandy Alderson, who was probably still there when you got there, and then transitioned to Billy Beane. So you were there with that and the whole sabermetric era that was kind of born, the whole Moneyball movie. But you were like kind of the old guard was leaving and you were coming in. And describe that time with the changeover, because Walter Haas had passed away, and then Steve Schott took over the team, and you kind of were ushering in that Moneyball era. Talk a little bit about your Oakland experience. It had to be surreal, though, coming in with like Canseco, McGuire, and knowing the ghosts of the past, so to speak, that were there, right?
Yeah, I mean, La Russa, I've got pictures of me being, real little, in an old Sox hat with La Russa walking past me, and I'm like 7, and here he is. Years later, he's going to be my manager. I just missed him in Oakland. There was a few times where he brought me up to run bases or play the last few innings, in the spring training games. But he went to St. Louis, and then maybe he liked what he saw back then and remembered me and brought me in. But yeah, coming into Oakland, I thought I was going to be signed by the Cardinals. There was a lot of teams that I'd talked to: Rangers, Houston, Atlanta, St. Louis. So like a lot of their cross checkers and scouts were, I knew that they were following me. And the Oakland, I didn't hear anything. And until my junior year, my last year at college, I hit 2 home runs at University of Illinois Chicago that I absolutely crushed. And the Marty Miller, a local scout, came up and just introduced himself from Oakland. And I said, oh, that's cool. There was cross checkers from a bunch of other teams there. I think even the Padres. So I thought, man, Oakland didn't have a cross checker. I'm thinking, well, I'm going to go to one of these other teams. especially after those home runs. And then I thought I was going to go like third round. All of a sudden at sixth round, and I'm like, what the heck's going on? And Oakland took me, and they came in and they offered me not much money the first, not much at all. And I'm like, well, forget it. I'll just go back and play. And then, like I said, I went and tore it up in Cape Cod. And I went out, and the great thing about Oakland is because of the money situation at that time, once the guy got to become a free agent, they were pretty much gone. You could just see it all. Jason Giambi, as soon as he really got to his big money years, he's gone. Each Isringhausen, every single guy, they were gone. So what that did is it opened up more spots for younger guys. So at first I didn't like it, but, looking back, I got an opportunity. I was only in the minor leagues. I signed probably in July or something of 93. By September of 96, I'm in the big leagues and pretty much stayed there. They tried to send me down and make me miss arbitration in 99. But I went and tore it up, and they brought me back, and I made Super 2 arbitration, and then they couldn't afford, they didn't want to offer me arbitration because they knew I'd probably win. And that's when I got to go to Anaheim. But yeah, coming up and seeing guys like, Giambi and McGuire and Canseco, and then, play with guys like Ricky Henderson and, Terry Steinbach and Mike Bordick and Scott Brocious. And, it was pretty neat. I remember Sandy was there the first time, and we were in Anaheim, and he sat me down. He's like, all right, he gave me the whole sabermetrics thing. We're trying to see pitches. We don't want you swinging at everything, and I was a pretty disciplined hitter as it is. And it was kind of hard because they really wanted me to take a lot. And so I always felt like, especially my rookie year, I was in the hole, but I still did pretty good. They gave me a shot. Art Howe, his depiction in Moneyball is not accurate at all.
Okay.
He's a big dude, and everybody respected him. The rest of it is pretty accurate,
Okay.
There's some things that might, be a little off, but for the most part, it's pretty accurate. Billy didn't like watching the games. He liked to throw stuff, like in the weight room. If something happened, you'd come in, a TV would be broken or be a hole in the wall. I remember swinging at a 3-0 pitch once. I hit a one-hop line shot to the second baseman. I mean, I crushed it. He turned to double play. He comes in after the game and is yelling at me like, what are you swinging at 3-0 for? I go, Billy, if I missed it by that much, if I hit that just a little bit underneath, that's gone, But they had this whole theory of, this was when guys used to throw complete games. They wanted that starter out. Now starters only throw 5 innings.
Yeah.
We were trying to get guys to get to that 115, 120 mark to get them out early so that we could get into their bullpen. And that was kind of their theory. But yeah, I want to say I was just trying to look for this. My dad recorded a lot of my stuff on VHS tapes, and he has them all dated. And I was looking for my first Grand Slam, which I think was April 23rd, 1997. And my recollection was that McGuire, Canseco, and Giambi were all on base. Now, I don't know for sure. I was trying to look it up. I found the tape cover, but I can't find the tape. So I must have pulled it out for some reason. Now I got to find it again and see if that's who was on base or not. But, McGuire was hilarious. He kind of took me under his wing, but he was always doing stuff to me. We were on the road first. So I got called up on Friday the 3rd. I don't remember if I told you guys this beforehand, but I got called up. We won the AAA championship, and it was let me think. It was like the 12th, so September 12th, and I had done really well. I had 6 home runs in the championship. I had a great year, and I was like, man, are they going to call me up? I didn't hear anything afterwards. So I wasn't a big drinker at the time, but I went out and celebrated with the guys about 2 a.m. I got a call in my hotel room, and it's my manager. He's like, hey, Spiez, this is Jonesy. Congratulations, you're going to the show. And I'm thinking it's my teammates messing with me, And so I'm like, yeah, whatever, guys. And they're like, no, man, it's Jonesy. Call your parents, man. You're going to the show. I'm like, oh my gosh. So, here I am. I'm in Edmonton. I call my parents back in, Morris, Illinois, and my high school coach and my wife, and I tell them, and now it's Friday the 13th. It's September 3rd, Friday the 13th. I gotta get all my bags. I gotta go to the stadium, find somebody to let me in, get my stuff. Basically, get to the airport by like 5 a.m, which is an hour away. You don't have Ubers and stuff,
Right.
So I had to find a cab. I get there, I got to go through customs. I get on a little prop plane. I'm going to Cleveland. It's a thunderstorm. It was just awful. I get there. They're like, go straight to the field. I lost 3 hours. I get to the field. I don't know how to get in. So finally, I'm carrying all these bags, and somebody finally lets me in. I get to my locker. I put everything down. I look up, and they give me number 13. And I'm superstitious. I didn't want 13. I'm like, no, And so I asked McGuire, I'm like, give me some pointers. I'm playing third base, and Cleveland, had Albert Bell and Manny Ramirez and all these sluggers on it, and then guys that could bunt too. And it's wet, and so I'm thinking, geez, Roberto Alomar and Vizquel and Kenny Lofton and all these guys, they're going to be bunting, and all the big sluggers are going to kill me down at third. And so I said, give me some tips. He goes, hey, from home plate to the mound is 60 feet 6 inches, and from home to first is 90 feet. And I said, thanks, Mac. I know that. And he goes, well, yeah, you do know that. He goes, so you know how to play the game. It's the same game. Just take the crowd out of it. And so I'm like, yeah. So we end up getting rained out that day. The next day, I'm talking to my catcher, who also just got brought up. I'm like, dude, you got 21. I like everything like 7 or divisible by 7. And so he traded with me. So I still have
number 21. I got it on the card right here, buddy.
So I still have the 13 jersey in my batting cage, but I never wore it officially. And so I ended up getting a hit my first time up off Chad Auger, who was the guy that took me out on my LSU recruiting trip. And after the inning, McGuire brings me my glove, and he goes, nice hit, kid. And I said, thanks, Mac. And he goes, nowhere to go but down now. I'm like, oh, thanks. Appreciate it. Next day, I got a double and a single off Oral Hershiser, and he brings my glove, and he goes, it's not that easy. They're going to figure you out. I'm like, why? What's with you, man? You always, pump me up. Don't bring me down. So we're in.
That was his way of doing it, though. Like,
yeah. He was always poking fun. So the story I was going to get to was we're in Kansas City, and this is the last road trip, the last day of the road trip, and usually the way it works is, the clubhouse guys, after the game, pack our bags, our lockers, and everything, and then they basically leave your clothes and your shower shoes. And then when you're done with your shower, you draw off your shower shoes, put them in the bag. They take it off, put it on the bus, get it on the plane, and then we just get dressed and eat and go on the bus. And we usually pull up right to the plane, like no going through airports or anything. So I'm thinking it's the same thing we've been doing. So after the game in Kansas City, I come to my locker, I get undressed, I get on my shower shoes, I go take a shower, I come back to my locker, and nothing's in it except for a block of ice with my suit and my dress shoes frozen in it, and a sundress with a straw bonnet hat. And I'm like, what the heck is this? And my bag is gone. So I got nothing to wear. I got no underwear. I've got to wear the sundress on the trip home to Oakland. So I put on a sundress, a straw bonnet hat, no underwear, and flip flops. And there's my suit and everything frozen. You know, they had taken it during the game and put it in a bucket of water and froze it. And that's what I got. And then we pull up into the front of Kansas City Airport, and I'm like, what is this? So we end up having to go through the airport. Now I'm in a sundress, you know, and it was hilarious, you know. Something that you really can't do nowadays.
No.
But you know, it was fun. You know, they'd make me go on the A bus and sit in the bathroom and stuff like that. But yeah, it was pretty neat getting messed around with Mark McGwire.
Roy actually has a very similar story to that as well. He tell about the little dress show you had. You actually had something that was it was the year that Barry Bonds was going to hit, you know, break the record.
Yeah, I'll keep it brief because I want it more Scott and less me. But we did a show called Sports Preview, and Anthony Stalter, who is on ESPN 101.1, you know, anyway, it was a panel of us, and Rob, myself, and Big Nick Russell was another guy on our show. But wrestling was big right at the time, and I'm like, man, how can we spice this up and really get some ratings and, you know, not just for all this boring sports talk, but really, you know, kind of make it some sports entertainment, right? So I made a bet with Anthony. Anthony was a big Barry Bonds fan, Giants fan, right? And Bonds was, you know, going to hit his 70, you know. And anyway, I was more of a McGwire guy in the Cardinals, right?
Yeah.
I wasn't a Cub fan, right? So McGwire, I was like, yeah. So anyway, long story short, I made a bet with Anthony. I said, Barry Bonds is not going to break the record. McGwire has it. He's going to keep it. And I said, and I'm going to put my money where my mouth is. I said, if Bonds breaks the record, I'll come on this show wearing a dress.
Oh no.
I said, but I said, if you know, if it goes the other way, I said, Anthony, you got to shave your head. Because back then I used to shave my head bald. I mean, with a razor and everything, you know, the Stone Cold Steve Austin Goldberg thing.
Yeah.
So I said, and Anthony loved his hair, man. You know, he was the guy with the hair, like you're talking about Kelly Dransfeld. So I said, you got to shave your head. So that freaked him out, but he took the bet. And I lost, and the rest was history. We made it like I didn't show up. I was hiding out in the back room. I had a lot to drink, and they made it like I didn't show up. We had a packed audience. They cued the music.
DJ.
They had a DJ. We played the NWO Wolfpack, and here I come out in the dress. I do a twirl, and the crowd was going nuts.
I love it.
I was like 3 sheets to the wind. I had to because I was coming out, and it was my friend's sister's dress. It was like a spaghetti, like it was probably even lingerie. I don't even know if it was a real dress. I did look kind of sexy, didn't I, Rob?
Yeah, you did a little bit.
I rocked it, man. I rocked it.
Man. You had some fella in that dress.
See, I didn't even get a choice of what dress I got to wear.
Yeah, at least Steve was able to go shopping for it.
Right. Yeah.
That's crazy. Well,
that's awesome.
we got about 53 minutes in. Once again, we're with Scott Spiezio, 2-time World Series champion. We want to thank you once again for coming on with me and Roy. We're having a blast so far, loving these stories. And I know we got probably about less than an hour with you, so definitely got to play the music to get on into the next one. And
get into the next one, Rob.
We're going to be talking about your World Series rings and how it got there, and kind of, you know, we want to not only that you won the World Series, but I'm sure a lot of kids have looked up to you and your teammates and want that same dream. So tell us of how that moment was. 'Cause I do have the 3-run shot that you hit in Game 6, which I will play for you if you like, just to kind of beef it up. And I will pull that up. And we don't own the rights to this video. It's off of YouTube, everybody. So I'll make sure I put that up so I don't get sued. But let me bring this up and we'll show it. I wish I can just share this screen just like this. Boom. Here it is. And let's
just
1 second. One man show over here in the production side.
Full to Spiezio, 3-2. Big pitch coming up.
No.
Rodriguez sets the 3-2 pitch, is belted to right field. Back on it goes Sanders at the wall. He can't get it. Home run.
That has to be a great feeling overall. Just after, and you know what? Angel 23. I used to say superstition. 23 is my number. It's been my favorite number. It's my birth date. And just seeing that on there just gave me goosebumps alone.
Yeah. Yeah. It's you know, it's something I prepared myself for my whole life, you know, and so to experience it was just unreal, you know. Yeah. So, you know, my dad had 2 World Series rings, 64, 67. He always wears his 60, I think it's his 67 one. And you know, I've got 2 older sisters, so I knew I wasn't going to get those rings. So I had to win my own. And so, you know, every time we'd finish the practice, he'd say, you know, 3-2 count, 2 outs, bases loaded, down 1, bottom of 9, game 7 of the World Series. What are you going to do? You know,
right. And
my mom would be shagging balls, and she'd say, "Do it for the ring, Scott." You know, I even have video, and I've been trying to find that. I know I have it. Because my dad used to tape a lot of my practices so we could watch them and see if there was anything mechanically I was doing wrong. But so, you know, I do that situation my whole life. I still do it to the kids when I do lessons here. And then at night, I'd visualize myself since time I was probably 10 years old. I'd visualize myself in those situations. And so when I got to those situations, you know, I never felt pressure. I remember watching George Brett, and George Brett would always say, when I get to the playoffs, I try easier. Of course, George Brett had some pretty amazing years in the playoffs. And so I just kind of took that same philosophy. When I get there, this is where I belong. This is, you know, this is where I excel. This is what I love. I love the pressure. This is what I play for. You know, and in my 26 career playoff games, I had 25 RBIs and hit over 600 with runners in scoring position because that's what I expected of myself. That's what I visualized. So when that opportunity came, you know, we're down 5-0. I knew we had a great team. We came back so many times that year in 2002, and we had the rally monkey, which was our secret weapon. And so I knew if I could get up there and just give us a spark. So when I got up there, I just kept thinking, stay short to the ball, line drive in the gap, get a run in. Once we get that first one in, boom, we're going to smell blood and we're going to come back. When I was about ready to go hit off Russ Ortiz, shoot, I can't think of his name. The man, Dusty Baker. Dusty Baker went to the mound, took Russ Ortiz out, got the game ball. Russ Ortiz started walking. He called him back, and he gave him back the game ball as a souvenir. And I thought, man, these guys think it's over, you know. And so I got pissed off, and I'm like, man, I'm gonna drive this thing into the gap. And right away, I was 1-2. They brought in Felix Rodriguez, who was throwing gas, you know. On today's gun, he'd be at 100. You know, I think he was 96, 97. And I just kept following him off. And then McCarver was, and I didn't know it. I didn't hear it till afterwards, but McCarver kept saying, dude, if you miss in, like, this could be 5-3. And sure enough, he missed down and in, and I just dropped my barrel on it and hit it. You know, and McCarver, what's crazy is McCarver played with my dad in St. Louis, you know, won the World Series with him. So it's kind of neat to listen to that afterwards. And so I remember hitting it. I knew I hit it on the barrel. I hit it really high, though. And so I'm just like, on the way down to first, it was like slow motion, like The Natural. You know, like everything was in slow motion.
Right.
I'm praying. I'm like, God, please let this ball get out, you know. You know, and I'm like, all right, Gene Autry, if you're up there, come on, cowboy, like blow some wind to get this thing out. And most of my home runs were like doubles that carry out. They're out pretty quick. And I was always kind of like a Paul O'Neill guy. When I hit my home runs, usually I just put my head down and run. This one I was watching the whole time. I actually got past first base and kind of like stopped. And I saw Reggie Sanders hit the wall and the ball go over.
And you felt the crowd.
Yeah, and up until then, everything was so quiet because I trained to block out everything. And then when that ball hit, and I went, it's like only time in my life on my all my home runs that I actually did like a celebration. I just did this. The ball went over, and I heard the crowd. I was like, "Holy cow! This place is going crazy!"
Jumping.
And I had goosebumps and all this adrenaline. I felt I was 3 feet off the ground. Like the stands looked like they were like bouncing,
rocking,
yeah. And I came around home plate. I see Fulmer and Gloss, and I'm like, let's go, And we got in the dugout. Mickey Hatcher and Erstead, all those guys are going crazy, and I'm like, we're gonna win this thing. And sure enough, we did. I had a after I got everybody pumped up, I went and sat down, calmed myself down, started visualizing my next at bat because I knew it could be big. But by the time I come up next time, we were up 6-5. They ended up intentionally walking me. But we ended up, I knew if we could get a lead, our bullpen was lights out,
Right.
We had we had Donnelly, we had K-Rod and Troy Percival. We get past the fifth. We were tough to beat. And we came back, and then of course we won the next day 4-1. So it was an amazing home run and experience. It's almost like when I got past first, I had all these memories of the backyard and my mom saying, "Do it for the rain."
Right.
My dad said,
it's awesome.
It was crazy. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Just to paint the picture, everybody talked in '86 about the Red Sox and the Buckner and the curse. The Angels lost in that ALCS, which was a heartbreaker when Donnie Moore gave up the home run, Dave Henderson. So there was kind of a little bit of a curse there. And you guys broke it. You broke it, and it hasn't been done since. I mean, think about it. Mike Trout's there. Shohei Ohtani had to leave. It hasn't been done since. So you did something special. And I think for those 86 guys in that town who had still that heartbreak of that, you did something pretty cool, and you helped heal a lot of people there.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, we heard about that all the time, and we said, hey, we kept Socha was great. Like he was I just had a cardinal land right up in the tree up here. That's kind of crazy. Yeah,
that's an angel. That's crazy.
Wow. Yeah, and the last one
Angel 23, baby.
Woo. Yeah, it's crazy.
Oh.
What we were just talking about.
Yeah, right.
Awesome.
What were we talking about?
I got goosebumps for that. You said that. Angel birds.
I forgot what we were talking
the
about.
The 86
team.
Oh,
yeah, the 80s. Yeah. So they kept saying, they talked about that, and we're like, well, we have nothing to do with that. That was a long time ago. That has nothing. That doesn't affect our team. And Socha really kept us on one game at a time. Let's win this game. And that's it. We don't want to think about anything else but winning this game. And that's what we did. We just win this game, and Joe Madden was our bench coach, and he was even to the, let's win this pitch. Let's win this inning. Let's get an extra run right here. We called them jug runs, go for the jugular. So we had, Mickey Hatcher, we had Alfredo Griffin, Ron Renicky, Bud Black. A lot of those guys went on to be managers. We had a heck of a coaching staff. And I think that's what kept us focused, not on the teams from the past, but our team. But yeah, talking back to some of those guys, they were really happy that we ended up winning it for the city. And when you go back there's still so many fans that are so grateful, which is pretty neat. I still would love to see them win again. I'd love to go out there and throw the first pitch for Game 6.
Well,
you heard it here first, everybody.
Right here.
Right here.
Can we please get this man to throw out the first pitch? Is
Game
that asking too much?
Game 6 of the World Series.
We're gonna make it happen. That's just ideal. So if my Cubbies don't make it, and
get this man to throw out the first,
if Roy's team don't make it, we'll make sure that we'll be rooting for the Angels. Let's get him in there. Go to Game 6 and get Scott out there. So
now throwing out the first pitch, number 21, Scott Spiezio.
Right.
There it is.
I got to go with you, buddy.
Game 6 magic.
Absolutely. So with that said, too, leading in to your second World Series win with the Cardinals, I'm not going to be that guy and ask, which one was better? Was the other ring better than the other one? I'm pretty sure they're both equal for you.
Yeah.
But I know you have the 3-run home run, which is probably dear to you. And like you said, a childhood dream. Me and Anthony, the man that's in St. Louis now, we used to play one-on-one wiffle ball.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yeah.
And we always do. We're so competitive. So
Yes.
competitive. No, man, that's foul ball. It's foul. You know what? I'm going
Right.
home. You're
Yep.
cheating. This is just so competitive. So what you said, rounding those bases, I imagined exactly when I hit my home run off Anthony, because I could never beat the damn guy in wiffle ball. And I beat him that day, rounded the bases, and I just stared at him the whole time. And I know in Major League Baseball, even college or whatnot, you start doing the stare tactic, you're going to get beamed by a ball.
Right.
But no, just that. I mean, just going into the dugout, and I saw, because I like watching old videos and stuff, and just seeing the energy and the emotion in the crowd, you can just tell.
Oh yeah,
that you all believed that you were winning it, and that right there, it just means the world to me personally, just for an inspirational piece per se, because this is inspirational. This is history. This is something that a lot of baseball fans and sports fans, for that matter, are just excited to see and have that nostalgia in them. Now, as Angel fans out there, they want another one. It's like me as a Cub fan when they won it in 16. I want another one. I cried.
Trout.
My grandmother,
Mike Trout,
Mike Trout. Let's get it from Mike. I mean, Mike's a Philadelphia Eagles fan too. I'm a huge Eagles fan.
Yeah.
So, do it from Mike.
There you go.
No, but I just find it really cool to see that, and for you to live a childhood dream. I know that's very, very meaningful for you and your family, and I know your dad had to be very proud of you, and I'm sure he's very emotional. After the fact, the phone calls you were getting, I'm sure you just had to kind of breathe. So you know what? I'm gonna go outside for a minute and just kind of soak this all in. Like before we move on to the Cardinals, how was that? Like, how was the like decompressing after the series was over and all the media, the championship parade and everything? How was that decompressing from all that?
Oh man, being from a small town, you were talking about your friend one-on-one, me and that Dave Wowen, the guy that I was talking about, that we played together. We used to do that every day in every sport. It was crazy.
Yep.
So I know exactly what you're saying. The decompression after Anaheim was tough. I want to say I had 48 tickets for just about every game during the playoffs, at least the home ones. And so I spent a lot of money on tickets and travel and hotels. And, after every game, I'd have, my family and friends over to my hotel suite, and we'd have pizza and pop. And then I used to go back and read the Bible till like 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning. And I remember my dad going, "Well, you should get some rest." I'm like, "Well, if God's going to take it out on me for reading his word, I'll take my chances, And I ended up, breaking the record, 19 RBIs at the time in the playoffs, and which David Freese broke in 2011. And then Garcia broke last year with the Rangers. But I remember afterwards, we won it, and Sosha was awesome. He let my whole family and some of my friends into the clubhouse, and me and my dad have pictures. I totally forgot yesterday. I was going to send you pictures, and then I think I fell asleep early because I was dead.
That's for the next show.
That's for the next show.
I've got a picture with me and my dad in the trophy, and then some with my kids. My second son was born May 23rd of that year. So it was pretty amazing. It was just a special time. But I remember they asked me, they're like, "Hey, David Letterman wants you to do the top 10 list tomorrow." I'm like, "With who?" They go, "Just you." And then they're like, "Hey, Jay Leno wants you to come up and do a show with Eckstein and Salmon and Percival and Lackey." I'm like, "All right." They're like, "But it's the same day. So you've got to do it live on the field, the top 10 list, and then jump in a limo and then meet us up there, in Burbank." And so it was crazy. I had my parents and my wife and my kids in the limo. waiting for me. I got done with top 10 list, top 10 things overheard in the Giants clubhouse. And then boom, I ran down the line, got in the limo, drove up, waited in the green room with those guys and did that show. And then I jumped back in the limo and went to ESPN Zone at Disney and did Monday Night Live football. And then it was just crazy. I was on the Best Damn Sports Show period with my band, but my band guys couldn't.
I got footage of that, which we'll show here in a little bit.
Yeah, I couldn't hear a dang thing, but I ended up, going and practicing with some unbelievable rockers because my band guys had to go back to work in Illinois.
Man.
And so, I'm playing with Zakk Wylde and Mike Inez and Johnny Tempesta and
just another day in the life, right?
Yeah, it was unbelievable.
No
and
big deal.
It was like Carson Daly wanted me and it was like I did She Spies with Eckstein and Adam Kennedy and it was crazy. And I kind of lost focus and I always say I was always kind of humble, but you start getting people telling you that you're great and all this stuff. And I call it ego edging God out. I started edging God out of my life a little bit, not on purpose, but just because I had all this other stuff going on, plus baseball that, I stopped reading the Bible like I was all the time. And it was definitely a transition. I was like, it was almost like,
it's like the rock star life.
Yeah. If you were surfing and you got like crushed by a wave and you're just under the water, and that's how it was. It was like, I was trying to come up for air but I was always on the plane traveling. And by the time 2003 rolled around, I was dead going into the season. I was tired. I had to stop. Like I basically had to stop saying that I was going to do shows and, fly anywhere because I couldn't take it anymore, And then going into 2003, my whole goal was, make it to the big leagues, play for 10 years and win a World Series. And now I was like, well, what's my new goal? Playing for 10 years is great, but what's my, my next goal? And then I said, well, let's play for a multi-year deal, which was probably not the best thing. It didn't motivate me. I ended up having a great year, but I definitely didn't. I wasn't like I was playing with the same enthusiasm that I normally did. I wish I could have reprogrammed myself in some way, but you learn as you grow. So yeah, that was definitely a tough year decompressing from that.
Well, I know you decompressed from this. We're going to share this right now, just a little bit. This is pretty cool. So here's, this is the Best Damn Sports Show. What year did this take place in?
That was right after 2002, right after the World Series.
2000, okay, so the quality, obviously, they didn't know what high def was yet.
Yeah.
Testament. I got Mike Inez on bass from Alice in Chains and Ozzy. Yeah. I got Zakk Wylde from Black Label Society and Ozzy with me on guitar. Woo.
Now, hold on, Zakk. I hear you're a big Yankees fan. So what the heck happened when Spiezio's Angels beat your Yankees?
I beat the living out of them, okay? So that's pretty much happened. So,
With that said,
I know I've got a drinking problem.
Yeah, with that said, I think it's time for these guys to take over. Scott Spiezio and the rest of his all-star cronies.
Yeah. Do a little bit of singing, then we'll bounce off of it. But look at that quality of video, right? I love how it's just that quality of video that they find in the archives. They'll picture it. But look at Zakk Wylde go, man. Unbelievable.
Yeah. So
yeah. Where'd you go?
Look at Scott.
I can't hear anything there. See all their amps? Yeah. Their amps are they're so loud, and I've got like 3 wedges. I can't even hear myself, which is horrible when you're trying to sing, But it was fun. I mean,
you're having the time of your life there, man.
Yeah,
and that kind of shows like exactly what you're talking about. Kind of shows the audience of exactly what's going on because you're right. And that me being a DJ, and I can piggyback off you with this. Me being a DJ, and I blew up in 05 to 07, and being humble And, you know, I was the same way. You kind of just, it's not the fact I forgot about God. It's the fact of, I think God put me here to teach me something. And he did.
Right.
Let me tell you,
Oh, yeah.
he did. Because I had a problem too. I was addicted to certain things, pain meds. You know, I had some other issues that I was going through, and you just kind of say F it. And I'm going to go with the bad crowd, and I'm going to drink every night. I'm going to be a superstar. You know, there's times like, you know, like you said, you're in that 3-run home run in the World Series. I hit my 3-run home run in mine when being on the radio and being headlined at one of the it's called Medusa's. Dave Medusa just passed away a few years ago. Rest in peace, Dave. Thank you for the opportunity. We all love you. The thing is he gave me that superstar feel, but I always made sure I was humble and said hi to everybody. I wasn't that get away from me. You know, if there was someone to take a picture with me, or we had an album that came out, we would sign it, and we were always excited for that. And then even the Fort Wayne, Indiana one, we went to Fort Wayne, Indiana. I was just talking to my guy the other day about this. We brought our records in, and we always said, if we ever make it big, let's make sure we take a moment and sit there and thank the Lord for giving us this opportunity. And that's what, you know, for the stories you're telling me and right now is fantastic, because you are bringing back some nostalgia for me personally. And I know bringing back some nostalgia as well. And it's just cool to live these memories and share this with, you know, this platform and our audience, because we do have a lot of diehard people that love us from what we used to do back in Bolingbrook, Illinois. And just seeing them starting to resurrect like the cicadas out there in Illinois. I'm sorry you guys have to deal with that crap right now. It's crazy with those pictures that I'm seeing, but just the resurrection of just spirit alone, like, you know, because we're going to talk about mental health here in a little bit. And, you know, it does fall into that factor, and would be a good segue into that. I think decompression, that's why I always have to say you're on that high, right? You're always in that high, and some people don't know how to get off that high, right? Like, look at Dennis Rodman, right? You can look what Dennis Rodman did after the final. And during the finals, and if you guys remember this little tidbit, he went to Vegas. Michael Jordan had to get his ass back there, right? And he came back. He did his thing, and he was still hungover, still grabbed like 21 boards that night. And I think that was the night he shot a 3 and made a 3. Wasn't it? I don't know. I could be wrong.
He had Carmen Electra with him, and she was like, she's like, Michael Jordan is here for you.
You might want to answer this one. But no.
Hulk Hogan said, Phil Jackson was calling him when he was doing wrestling on Nitro, and he's like, brother, he's like, Phil Jackson's on the phone for you, brother. You got to get back.
So overall, to finish that point, it's just cool to hear these stories. And, you know, even when we had Coach Dunn on, he shared some cool stories when he was roommates with Dan Marino, Russ Grimm, and all those guys. And it's just really cool to see that, because it's nice to share these stories. You know, I wish I could do one more. Like you said, you want to throw out the first pitch, right? If they go to Game 6, Anaheim Angels, and I really hope that happens. Make it happen, MLB. All right, if it does happen. But I want that one last gig for myself with all my fans, and to close the door for myself on the DJ side of things. So that's really cool, and I really hope that does for you, Scott, in your lifetime, because that's really neat.
And since we're all making those wishes here in the Pennywell, San Francisco Giants, if you're listening, Rennell Brooks Moon, I want to come out and do a game. I did a game at Fenway Park, and I would like to come to Oracle Park. So please give me a chance. That's all.
Yes. Amen.
There you go.
And I know the Lord's listening, because that Cardinal did land. So the Lord is listening. Is he still there?
He's not there, but he was there for a while.
That's awesome. Crazy. Wow.
That's insane. The Lord is blessing us right now. I love it. So Roy, any other questions before we move on to the climax of the show?
No, I what we're going to get into next is, you know, I know, Scott, you had an injury that kind of affected things. Then I think it was you on the mound, you were trying to make a catch or something, and you hurt your back.
Yeah,
that happened right after you left Anaheim, right? So that's kind of where you kind of started coming down off the high, so to speak.
Yeah. So I had 2 of my best years. Well, 2.5 of my best years was, I guess you could say, my Anaheim 4 years were probably the best I'd played, especially 2002 and 2003. You know, if I had those numbers today, probably be making $25 million a year. But after the 2003 year, I thought for sure they're gonna sign me to a multi-year deal. But they went, Disney sold. Artie Moreno bought the team, and they went in a different direction. Ended up moving Darren Erstad to first base and bringing in Torrey Hunter and some other guys. They had a heck of a team. And so I was a free agent basically. They offered me to come back, but in not as a big as a role, and actually a pay cut too, which I was like, no way. I'm not. I had just as good a year as I did in 2002. I'm definitely not going to do that. In first base, I think I made like in 2.5 years at first base, I think I only had like 4 errors or something like that. Not, I was pretty dang good over there, and played, 159 games one year and 154 the other year. So I was durable as well. So I ended up going to Seattle, signing a 3-year deal with a 4th-year option. Towards the end of spring training, I ended up coming in for a pop-up over the mound. Nobody else called it. I was coming in pretty hard, and I caught it and then hit the side of the mound. Kind of a freak thing. I blew out my T6 and T7 disc. I kept going to different doctors. They all kept saying, if you try to play, you can be paralyzed. If more fluid comes into your spinal cord. They were telling me I was going to have to wait until June and then do this experimental surgery where they'd collapse my lung, take out a rib, come in this way and around here and put in like rebar along my spinal cord. And there was still a 5% chance that I could be paralyzed during that surgery. And they couldn't tell me if I'd ever play again. So I was like, I started feeling sorry for myself instead of like, facing that adversity head on. I started feeling sorry for myself, thinking, man, I've been really good. I've been a good person. I've done everything you wanted. And like I never even got to have fun, like everybody else does. And so now I wasn't playing. I was on the road and traveling with the team, but not playing. And I'm with a new group of guys. I don't have those, I haven't found that group like I had in Oakland and Anaheim, good Christian guys that kind of help me hold myself accountable or hold each other accountable. I had, with Anaheim, I had Tim Salmon and Garrett Anderson and Orlando Palmero and Benji Molina and Jose Molina and David Eckstein and, some other guys. And we'd watch each other. Same with Oakland. I had Buddy Groom and Scott Brocious and some other guys there. And we'd always, on the road, we'd see something. We'd say, hey, man, get over here, because girls would flock you wherever you went. And, there was always people trying to get you. And so we'd watch out for each other. We'd have Bible studies and stuff. And when I got to Seattle, I got hurt. I hadn't got close to a lot of guys yet. And I'm feeling sorry for myself. I remember going to a bar with some of the guys and, I didn't like to drink. I was a guy that didn't like to drink. I didn't go out. I actually started the band just an excuse to stay in and write songs. This is what I used to tell the guys. I got to write a song, I didn't even really know what I was doing. I just started doing it. And, I went out and I was choking down a beer and guys like, here, drink this, Jack and Coke. And so I drank it. And before you know it, I had 2 or 3 or 4. And then the next night I had 4. And the next night I had 8. And then I'm doing shots. And I started liking it. I started liking the feeling. It helped me release all this pressure that I was feeling and this, this depression that I was feeling over being hurt. And I kind of ran with it. And as I drank, I became a different person, and I'd make horrible decisions, and ended up making bad decisions. As I made bad decisions, I got further and further away from who I was, and it ended up causing me a divorce from my wife, high school sweetheart, and when that happened, then, my family was all over me and, trying to talk me out of it. And, it caused friction with friends and family in my hometown. And then I felt guilt and shame about it. So then what did I do? I drank more and eventually, after 2 years with Seattle, I ended up, getting remarried and trying cocaine after the Mariners released me in 2005. So November, I tried it for the first time, and close to the end of 2006, I started using more and more, and by 2007, I was totally addicted to both alcohol and cocaine, and then it was bad, but I called it detour, but it was off-roading, man. It was bad times for those 10 years.
I will share a story that no one has known since around that topic as well. In 07, very similar situation you went through. My ex-fiance left me with a friend of mine. All right. Everything was tumbling down. I started drinking more. I changed up my alcohol from beer to hard liquor.
Yeah.
I went to the vodka side of things.
Yeah.
And I also tried cocaine in 2007.
Yeah.
I don't want to say I got addicted to it, but I did like the feeling, the euphoric feel. I just felt invincible. I felt like I can focus more. I felt that I was untouchable. I felt like this was exactly what I was looking for to get out of that crappy ass relationship and everything else I went through. So being someone that, with the story you're telling, and we appreciate that, I know you've been public about it, but at the same time, sometimes you do have to admit, and I'm saying this for myself, sometimes you do have to admit what you've done in the past to kind of look at it and say, you know what, if I never went through something like that, where I'd be where I'm at today in a better place of mind. So sometimes you got to look back at it and you look at it as like, yeah, I did it. I done it. You know what? At least I was aware about it, because the people that aren't aware about it, and I'm sure you can give this message out too. The ones that are out there say, I call them optimistic people. I say optimism will get you killed. And when you're optimistic about drugs and alcohol, you're most likely not going to make it. You get behind the wheel, kill snot, and you might live, but you might kill a family.
Yeah.
You might go out and do things that you never thought you would do before, infidelity, something to that nature.
Yeah.
Because that person has the connection. And my ex, if you're watching, you know what I'm talking about. So that's where I'm coming from on that. So that's where I appreciate your personal Roy does that you're sharing this with us, and sometimes that's what needs to happen, because that's once again, because I know we're about an hour and a half in. I think we got about 15 more minutes with you, Scott. So I don't want to miss out on anything. Roy, do you have one question before we switch over to how you became a born again Christian overall?
No, I'm just taking this moment in right now, and I'm reflecting myself because I drank. I was going through radio school, and I landed on a station, and I was kind of starting to see the bright lights, and I was in my 20s, and I just I had anxiety and panic attacks that I didn't really know what they were, and so the alcohol, and I was a shy person, right? So the alcohol would give me those beer muscles, so to speak, and the outgoing, and I could talk to girls and people, and
the confidence level went up.
So I got really heavily involved, and like it ruined a lot of my mom and my dad. I know they weren't proud of that, and I apologize since then, but just all I want to say is thank you for sharing your story. We should share it. I do suffer from PTSD. I went through 2 divorces, wanted to kill myself. Only thoughts, didn't actually take any actions. But this guy over here, Rob, we're accountability partners, right? I'll call him up or he'll call me up, and
absolutely,
we might have to vent. We might have to say whatever it is, but we keep each other, on the straight and narrow, so to speak. So not so much a question other than just to say thank you for sharing this and being transparent, so we can end the stigma, because we're good people. All 3 of us on here are great people.
Yes.
And God, Jesus Christ has forgiven us, and that's why we have a savior. So
that's exactly right. Well, thank you guys for sharing well. And that's what when I was in the hospital and they're telling me that my liver's giving out and I got a 20% chance to live, I just asked God, take away my cravings, and I'll go out and share your message and talk to kids also about the dangers of drugs and alcohol. And, you know, like you guys, pretty much, you know, nobody in a million years would have thought that I'd ever be addicted to drugs or alcohol, because I was so anti. I was the dare guy. But if it can happen to me, it can happen to you guys. It can happen to anybody. I've been to 11 rehabs in 10 years, and the people that come in for treatment, you would never think in a million years. CEOs of companies, you know, 12, 13, 14-year-olds, you know, wives, you know, that drink, you know, 3 bottles of wine every day, whether husband's at work. There's most people are addicted to something. You know, the whole thing is admitting it, saying that you actually have a problem, and then confronting it, you know. And you know, for me being a baseball player, it was really hard for me to ask for help, because I felt that I could do anything. And step one in AA is, you know, admit that you're powerless over alcohol and that or drugs, and your life has become unmanageable. Well, I could say that my life had become unmanageable, but I couldn't say that I was powerless over anything. So that was the hardest thing. I could never get past step one. And finally, I had to give it to God and just say, all right, God, I am powerless. I need you to take away those cravings, and I need to follow your will. And that's what I did. You know, that was April 6th, 2018. I haven't had a craving since then. You know, I'm over 6 years sober. My liver totally regained its normal function, which the people at Northwestern Hospital can't believe it. They still said, you know, we've never seen anything like this. You don't even need to come and see us anymore. Somebody up there's looking out for you. Yeah. And that's what they said as medical doctors. They basically said the same thing. And so I just like to say, for those people out there that are suffering, you know, reach out. I get people reaching out to me all the time. And you know, I've taken many people to AA or Celebrate Recovery. You know, for anything, gambling, it could, there's different addictions. It could be depression, it could be PTSD or whatever. If you've got some kind of hang up, you know, Celebrate Recovery is a great option. You know, it's Christian based, and it meets once a week. We have one here at Manuka, which is fantastic. I spoke at that last year. I think it was what was it? It was one of their anniversaries, maybe 12th year anniversary or something like that. But it's a great community.
It's amazing. And with that said too, now I know we have about 15 minutes left, 10-15 minutes left with you. I don't want to take away how you became a born again Christian. So you're pretty much talking a lot about it now. But when did you overall realize that, you know what, I need God and I need to change my life now? And if I don't, I'm gonna lose my family, my kids, friends, my career might be tainted, everything. Like, what do I need to do? I mean, when did you finally hit that wall? Because I know I've hit that wall just recently. And sometimes you gotta, when you wake up from hitting that wall, you gotta shake off the cobwebs and be like, man, I need to hit that wall. How do I get back up? I'm glad I hit that wall, and I'm still here to talk about it. You know, so when was that? When did that time come for you, when you realized it was time to give your faith to God?
So, you know, I would say I was drugged as a kid. I was drugged to church every Sunday. You know, my parents, they're very religious. I was raised Catholic, and I had a basis for, you know, a relationship with God. I talk to him all the time. I pray all the time. Not until I got to college and like baseball chapel and FCA did I realize that I needed to have a personal relationship with Jesus Christ. That's when I started, you know, reading the Bible more and starting to kind of cultivate more of a personal relationship. I still was an infant. You know, my first stop in Modesto, California, I lived with the team chaplain. And so I got introduced more to sharing my story and stuff. You know, my testimony at the time about, you know, kind of reaching out to Jesus and praying the prayer of salvation when I was in with the University of Illinois. And I got close. With the A's and the Angels, I did Bible studies all the time. I'd go out and talk to schools. With the A's, we had a chaplain that was in the power team. They would lift and go to schools and talk, and then they'd invite them to church afterwards, and I'd share my story and stuff like that. Angels, same thing. We had Chuck Obremski, who was incredible there. Donnie Moore was the guy that was in Oakland. And then and I was reading the Bible all the time. And then I told you how I kind of got picked up in that whirlwind, and I stopped reading the Bible. And, I didn't really know that the devil was real, that he was pursuing you. If you remember Denzel Washington talking to Will Smith, when he slapped Chris Rock, he said, the devil comes after you when you're at the top. And I think that's when the devil started really pursuing me. So I didn't know my enemy. I didn't know that the Bible was the living word and that it was my armor and my shield, like it says in Ephesians. So right. I basically didn't know my enemy. I didn't have my armor and my shield on anymore. All of a sudden I got hurt. Boom. That's the perfect opportunity for the devil to come in and take me down, and then lose my platform, and now the people that I've maybe inspired to be more Christian-like, or follow, become a Christian, have all well, look at this guy, man. He's, so the devil pursued me, and he knows me better than I know myself. He's been studying me, and he knows the Bible too. And my dad gave me a book called When the Enemy Strikes, by Dr. Charles Stanley. And I started reading that, and I started realizing, man, this is, when I was going through that 10-year period. And, I started realizing that I was in a spiritual warfare, and I had to get right, but I was still addicted, and the devil was throwing these fiery darts at me. Like, you're not worthy. You messed up. God can't use you anymore. You're worthless. And I started believing it, and then, I'd look outside. I'm on 49 acres, beautiful property. And I'm looking at it right now. And I'd say, man, I wish I could go outside. I wish I could go to my son's game. I'd write notes that said, if I don't wake up tomorrow, I didn't kill myself on purpose. It's just I'm addicted to the stuff, and I love everybody, and I'm sorry. And then I started, reading the Bible more and getting around people that were supporting me, and I started realizing that God used David, and God used Paul. David had an affair with his best friend's wife, and then sent him out to the front lines of the battles to get to be murdered. Samson, Paul, he was crucified and killed Christians. Moses killed somebody. Like, if God can use these people, then he can use me. And that's when I started feeling like my story's not over yet, And I always say, as long as you got a breath, you got a pen to write a great ending. As long as that you pray to God and ask that his will be done, not my will. I was always a guy that prayed, God, this is what I want. Give it to me. You know? And now
that's how I was. It's funny how you say that.
Yeah. And now I say, God, tell me what I should do. What's my next step? Who do you want me to help? How can, and I wear this bracelet all the time. I don't know if you can see it, but it says, I am second there. And then this one is 3 E's: engage, equip, and empower. I am second. For too long in my life, baseball was my identity. And when I was done with baseball, I didn't know how to react to that. Yeah. And I felt like my life was over. And then I realized, you know what? Jesus said, go out and tell the whole world about me, the Great Commission. And that's it. Like, engage people, equip them with the good news, and empower them with the ability to go out and to spread the word of God and to make other Christians. And so that's what I'm doing. I put myself second. I actually try to say I put myself last. Of course, I don't do that all the time, but God, family, true friends, and then maybe me. You know, but I try to work with as many people. I'm involved with my church. I go out and speak to FCA. I'm involved with my local Morris High School huddle, FCA huddle.
Awesome.
And even when I talk to schools, I'll still throw in some of the, you know, the things that I'm telling you guys. I can't go really into depth unless it's a Christian school.
Right.
But I'm outgoing and share my faith and share my story so that others can have that hope. You know, once I gave it to God, all that pressure went off. And I always say I could live in a cardboard box. Like the money, the fame, all that stuff doesn't matter anymore. All that matters is, you know, how can I share that hope that having that true relationship with Jesus Christ gives.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Right.
it definitely gives you a peace. And, I feel God in this moment here because, here I am, a huge baseball person, right? And sports. And now, I was so excited to talk to you about all those baseball memories. I still have a lot more I want to talk to you, and hopefully we
Yeah.
could do this show again to ask some more of those questions. But I'll tell you
Sure.
right now, my mind has shifted, and all that stuff that I came on so excited about is now really, you put things into perspective for me about God and the universe and what's really important. And yes,
Yeah.
it's an entertainment value, and those stories were great, but just this means more to me right now, hearing what you're saying, than the World Series stories and all the other cool
Yeah.
stories I was geeked out about in the beginning.
Yeah.
And, I think self-identity is something that is a struggle. Like I said, I struggle from PTSD and anxiety. I was in the
Me
call
too.
center world for about 23 years after I gave up my dream in radio and sports, and now I'm trying to pursue my dream again. But now I'm going through a self identity crisis. I'm a born again believer, and I'm saved, and Christ is my center, and that's what gets me out of bed every day. But I was a call center supervisor for 9 years, and now the corporate world. Now that I'm out of it, and I try to get back into it, it's like it seems like they don't want me anymore. And with the PTSD and the anxiety, I feel at times kind of stigmatized or stereotyped or even discriminated against. But I just have to just keep my faith going each day that God does have a plan for me, and I will
Absolutely.
find what that purpose is.
Yep.
And I think, Scott, talking to you, you've renewed that hope of,
Yeah.
no
That's
matter who
awesome.
we are, and CEOs, right? Like you mentioned, it's non-discriminative. It could get anybody.
Yeah.
And then how do you move forward from that? So no matter
Yeah.
who we are or what we are. So thank you from the bottom of my heart, really, for sharing
Yeah.
that story. Like I said,
You got it. You guys, you both have an incredible story, a testimony, and that's what I tell people. We all have a story. You guys
Right.
can relate to a bunch of people that have similar stories that are struggling right now, and you by you sharing, you can give them that hope. And that's it. That's it. Reach out to look for those people in your lives that might be struggling, and you with you sharing and you sharing your faith and your faith journey and your struggles, boy, you can make a huge difference. When I was struggling in 2007, Albert Pujols sat next to me in the weight room, and he's like, man, what's wrong? And
wow.
and I said, man, we just lost Josh Hancock. I'm suffering with some stuff I can't really get into. I wasn't really open at that time yet. I was worried that it could affect me and my
Right.
career. And but he knew, and he brought this book to me, and it's I still got it. It's right over here in my bookcase. It was the one thing you can't do in heaven, and that's bring other people to Christ. And he's like, man, we need you on this team, man. We need you and your
Wow.
platform on this team. We need
Wow.
to get you right. It wasn't about we need you to win another World Series. We need you to be the player and the leader that you were in the clubhouse. It was we need you right so that you can go out and be on this team to recruit people for Jesus so that they can be with God for eternity. And that meant so much to me. And it took me years to get there, but I told him, I said that meant so much to me. And my pastor actually shared that story in a sermon last year, and I shared that with Albert. But that's the deal. Like I always tell people, you never see a U-Haul behind a hearse.
true.
You can't bring the stuff with you. My World Series rings are great, but they really mean nothing in the end. You know,
Right?
That's it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing that story on Albert Pujols, by the way. And this is a point I want to make out there for people who, whether it's media or just fans or anybody, about judgment. I hate how people will pass judgment. And I know we didn't get into it or talk about the steroid era, but there were some people out there that were, oh, maybe Albert Pujols was taking steroids or stuff. Until a person has been innocent until proven guilty, and even then, who are we to pass judgment on people for? We've all make mistakes. We're all sinners, right? So thanks for saying something good about Albert, because that made me mad for a while that some people would even raise an eyebrow or make those suggestions. How do you know? Unless you walk a mile in somebody's shoes.
Right.
People, please stop the judgments out there. If you don't know the facts, and even if you do know the facts, pray for them. Don't condemn them. Don't cancel them. Don't make them go away. Cancel culture is not going to help somody. Let's try to resurrect them and give them a second chance, and not just throw them away.
I had a story similar to that. It's hard to do sometimes, I always thought Bobby Valentine was a big jerk. Just seeing some of his interviews and stuff and seeing the way he reacted. And then 2 years ago, I got invited to the Angels Instructional League. And I went there, and Bobby Valentine was hired, a special assistant to the GM or something. And I sat with him and had dinner a few nights. And I must have been there, 2-3 hours with the guy each night, just listening to his stories and have him joke around and seeing his smile and stuff. And now I'm a huge Bobby Valentine fan. So you never know until you meet somebody. A lot of these guys, especially like Albert Pujols, he's a very quiet guy most of the time. And, he's got so much attention on him that it's hard to deal with everybody. And, he's got to put some boundaries up. And so some people take that the wrong way. I was a guy that, I was popular, but I wasn't a superstar. So for me, I love signing autographs. I always are taking pictures. I'm always like, I'm going to hate the day where somebody doesn't ask me, anymore. So I'm going to take advantage of it while I can.
Well, I got this hat, but whenever I got a card that needs signing, so when we got some time, we could.
I bet.
I love it.
If you don't mind.
As far as Pujols doing steroids, I have no idea. There's guys that were in the league that,
and it doesn't matter if he did, right?
I have there's guys that I would have thought never took them, and then I found out they took them, and it doesn't matter,
though, right?
Yeah,
I mean, because again, the cork bats, the Juice or Gaylord Perry and all that, Ty Cobb's in the Hall of Fame. I mean, come on, if we dissect everybody that's been in the Hall of Fame, everybody's a sinner. So
I mean, that's true. That's very true.
Again, right?
It was tough. It was tougher to compete against those guys, though. It's
that's true.
I still think that they deserve to be in the Hall of Fame. If you want to put an asterisk by them, put an asterisk by them. But they're, Barry Bonds and McGuire were the two best hitters I ever saw. You put Pujols right there with them. And
you got to witness that in person, which is amazing.
Yeah, it was incredible. I got to play with some unbelievable, Ichiro when he got the 264 hits or something, that was unreal. Edgar Martinez, you go on and on. I was very, very lucky.
Very blessed.
And Scott Rowland ended up getting the Hall of Fame. He's on my rookie card. So my rookie card price is going up now.
Yes, it is.
Hey, who got to watch? You got to watch you hit that 3-run home run? Barry Bonds.
That's right.
Exactly.
Barry. We tried walking him, and he still hit 4 home runs off us and got like 8 or 9 hits. He was unbelievable.
I think Tony La Russa, your former manager, said at one point that Albert Pujols was the greatest player he ever managed, and that's coming from a guy who managed Carlton Fisk, Harold Baines, Ricky Henderson, Mark McGuire, a lot of great guys. So when I heard those praise coming from him, that was something that was surreal. And I just want to say something about him with the ARF shelter and with the animals. He does a lot of great things. He did a lot of great things for animals, and he did a lot of benefits. And, one thing I get upset about here in Chicago is, the guy, he's had some DUIs and he drinks, and there's been a lot of criticism here.
Always got to make
I'll say this. Go out and look at the tapes of all the stuff he did for animals out of his own, and the sacrifices. And again, people got to stop the judgment crap.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And that's the thing too, Scott, is that coming on our show here, like we're not like that. This is we're a God show. We're people that just want everyone to be comfortable, be ourselves, tell some stories, get some nostalgia in there, get some goosebumps I just had earlier when you were talking about the Lord and all that stuff. I mean, that's some powerful stuff. And I wish we had some more time. And I know you got, you've given us way more time than we do.
Thank you. That we deserve.
And
you got it.
And Scott, is there anything else you want to share before we bounce out? Is there any stories you want to talk about, or one final thing before we get out? Any message you want to give out there to the people that are struggling with mental health?
Yeah, I
promote anything.
I just say, never give up. Never give up. Even when you think that your relationships are done forever, that you can't rebound. Like I said, as long as you got a breath, you got a pen to write a great ending, and keep battling. Little by little, as you get out of it, people will start coming back to your life and give you second chances. People are always there to give second chances. They just want to see you work for it. And if you do that, you'll be amazed. If you read the promises in the AA book, those things that they are true, before you're even halfway through, you'll be amazed at the progress. And that's the big thing. Other than that, I have a baseball academy. It's pretty small. It's just me. I'm the only guy. I do, either team lessons or group lessons or individual lessons at my place here in Morris, Illinois. You can go on Facebook and look up Spiezio Baseball and then message me if you're looking for a lesson. I talk a lot about the mental aspect. I've also, if people are wanting me to speak about, tell my story at schools, you can reach out to Spiezio Baseball 21 at gmail.com. That's SPIEZIO 21 at gmail.com. You can also reach out for lessons on that too, or banquets or events. I've been doing a lot of that lately too. I was never a guy that was a big public speaker, and then my pastor asked me if I'd speak to the teen group, and I said I don't know what I'd say, and he goes, "Don't worry, God will give you the words." So before I speak, even before I got on the show, I just said, "God, give me the words to say for that one person or those two people or however many people that need to hear it." And so I just rely on Him to give me the words, and that's what I do.
I'm going to pop it up right here. So baseball with yous, it's Spiezio21 at gmail.com. They can hit you up.
So it's all lowercase. There's no hyphen in it. So just Scott Spiezio21 at gmail.com. Yeah.
Perfect. Let me pop that back up.
No spaces, no hyphens.
Perfect. Just like that.
Scott Spiezio21.
Oh, my bad.
Yeah.
Let's make sure we fix that.
Yeah.
Because
strike two.
That shit.
Right.
I'm about to go to the minors here in a second. All right. So just one word, Scott Spiezio 21 at gmail.
Wait, sorry. I'm messing you up. This strike three. There's strike three now. It's I have two emails.
All right.
One is Spiezio Baseball 21.
Okay.
Sorry.
All right.
Spiezio Baseball 21.
Let's do that.
At Gmail. Yeah, that's the one. That's the business one.
Spiezio Baseball.
Yeah.
21. I just want to pop it up there in case people want to pause it and show it. There you go.
That's it.
We
hit a home run, ladies and gentlemen.
Grand slam.
Learn from the best. Go get some hitting lessons from Scott. On future shows, I'd love to talk to you about your hitting philosophy. There's so much more I want to talk, but we got
a Jose Canseco story. You got other stories.
Oh, yeah.
I'd like to hear more about LaRusse and Sosha.
You got it. You got
we got a lot more coming up, and we love to keep talking about God and keep talking about mental health. And once again, ladies and gentlemen, it is Mental Health Awareness Month. If you have an issue, if you have a problem, please make sure you reach out to someone. I guarantee you, someone does care. Never say to yourself, no one effing cares about me. That is the devil talking. And I'm going to tell you firsthand, me and Roy personally go through this all the time, and we pick up that phone. It doesn't matter what time of the day it is. It doesn't matter if it's Christmas. It doesn't matter if it's 3:00 in the morning. Someone will pick up. Someone will be there for you. It's not over. You just got a lot going on that you just need a little bit of guidance, and the Lord will guide you. I promise you that. And that's coming from me just recently too. So I have a lot going on, and
we're green.
You know what?
Green
And
is
we're
the
green.
color for mental health awareness.
I love it. Thank you guys. Thanks for putting that out there. Yeah, that's important stuff. Huge
Absolutely.
stuff.
Yeah. Scott, stick around here to the end of the show. Here, we're just gonna do our closing. We just want to thank you again, Scott Spiezio, 2-time World Series champion. Roy, great questions. Roy wearing the A's. I love it.
My head down.
Keeping the head down.
All right.
And make sure to hit Scott up. And hey, you never know. Your child might be a future World Series champion himself. So with that said, I'm Rob Eggers, Roy Herman, and for our special guest, Scott Spiezio, you guys been watching Hashtag City's Backstage Sports Edition. We'll see you on the next show. Take it easy, guys.
Goodbye. Thanks, guys.